Whenever I want to buy a piece of luxury clothing, I first get someone to design my outfit for me. Next, I tailor it to make sure that it fits me. And subsequently, I will get someone to sew it and piece it all together for me. And likewise, for our company today, Marks & Spencer, how can Marks & Spencer design, tailor, and sew their business in China so that it can win back the Chinese market? Good morning to our honorable judges and fellow peers in the room. My name is Jasmine, and here are my teammates Shan, Yu Hao, and Hong Yi. And together, we are the team representing the National University of Singapore. Thank you for having us here in Hong Kong. Today, I would like to share with you a little more about what Marks & Spencer is and what it stands for. So Marks & Spencer prides itself on providing innovative food and clothing, and is also known to have a UVP that is built on quality as well as the British way of life. However, even with a special and unique UVP like this, it faces two main problems. Firstly, it has low brand equity, and also it has very low revenue in China. Therefore, today, our objective today is to ensure that we increase our revenue in China per store from 1.2 million into 2 million. In order to do that, we need to take a look at where we are today and where we want to be. So firstly, where we are today is that our Chinese customers have a very poor perception of our brand. However, where we want to be is to have a target group that identifies with our brand values, a target group that is aligned with where we want them to be. Secondly, even though we have entered the Chinese market and we've had a presence since about 20 years ago, we are not doing enough to understand our Chinese target customers. But where we want to be is to have an adapted business function that at the same time retains its own market and brand value of having a British way of life. Therefore, the key question is how do we optimize our business function without compromising on our brand value? Lastly, we mainly have brick and mortar stores in China. However, these brick and mortar stores have poor visitorship. And where we want to be is to position ourselves where our customers shop, and that is the e-commerce sector today. Therefore, our key question today is how do we establish our presence in the e-commerce sector? Now that I've laid out the key issues in front of you, allow me to take you through some situational analysis. Firstly, we see a need to bridge the perception gap. So, what Marks & Spencer targets is people who are above 30 years old. Could this target group be too wide? And secondly, they also want to target the growing middle class. They have identified the growing middle class in China as the perfect target group for Marks & Spencer because they have an increasing disposable income and are willing to spend on luxury goods. Therefore, what we offer to them is this concept called affordable luxury. We want to position ourselves in the between where there is value and a notion of luxury at the same time. However, this idea is not what the Chinese consumers want. Even though their target group is in the middle class and they have a rising disposable income, they do not want to be seen as the middle class. When these people in the middle class have some money and their disposable income has risen, they wouldn't want to buy things that make them look like they're part of the middle class. They will stretch their budget and try to buy items that make them look like they are richer than they actually are, and they want to portray themselves as part of the high-end, the high-class luxury people. Therefore, we perceive a perception gap here, and therefore our question and our key issue is how do we build this brand equity in target segment by aligning the brand perception between our target group and what we are portraying. Moving on, when we try to integrate ourselves into China, we have made two key decisions. Firstly, due to our bad history of having poor franchise agreements, we have decided to retain full control of our business operations in China. So unlike other companies, we choose to take control of where we want to plant our stores, how we want to position them, and how we want to market our product to our customers. And this has resulted in the impact that we are unable to predict the kind of demand that is going on in China for our goods. And secondly, because we are very bent on preserving our British way of life, we bring in these British designs and sizes wholesale, and we do not do anything to tailor it to the Chinese market. and this has resulted to a poor sizing fit amongst our Chinese consumers and also a misalignment in our design preferences. And with these two insights, our key issue today will be how we can optimize our business model without diluting the brand value of Marks and Spencer. Moving on to the last situational analysis. Marks and Spencer has been in China for about 20 years, and however, it has done very little to keep up with the Chinese. Currently, we have many brick and mortar stores in China. However, there has been a shift in shopping preferences to e-commerce stores. E-commerce is experiencing high growth in China and is also very frequently used by people who are in the 20 to 39-year-old age gap, which is precisely our target group as Marks and Spencer. And therefore, what Marks and Spencer tried to do next is actually to establish an e-commerce presence by setting up online stores on Tmall and JD.com. However, even though they have these online shop fronts in these big providers, this has resulted in a poor shopping experience because it is an amalgamation of all the poor brand perceptions, and also there's a lack of experience inside these online storefronts. Therefore, this leads me to our last key issue, which is how we can further establish a robust presence in the e-commerce sector. Now that I've covered all the three key issues with you, I would like to present to you today our winning solution, which is to design, tailor, and sue. First, we want to design our image so that it suits the Chinese customers. Secondly, we want to tailor our business strategy so that it suits the Chinese market. And lastly, we want to sue and weave our way into e-commerce. Now I'll pass the time on to Shan, who will present to you our solutions.
Thank you. So as Jasmine has mentioned, there is a perception gap especially in our brand image. People see us as middle class, but we actually see ourselves as something that is premium and innovative. So the first problem that we see, which may actually lead to this perception gap, is our target market actually too wide? So it's currently defined as greater than 30 years old. But 30 years old can be a working mother, it can even be a grandmother. So the first thing that Marks and Spencer needs to do is to clearly define the scope of our age market, and we believe that the perfect scope, given our expertise, our resources, is from 30 to 45 years old. So this is because within this age range, the people have more similar lifestyle and they tend to wear similar clothes as well. And the second problem among our target segment is that customers perceive us as imported, but at the same time middle class, something that's worn by middle class. And as Jasmine has mentioned, this is something that they actually don't want to be associated with. And so it is imperative for Marks and Spencer to build a brand image that appeals to our target customer who actually want more premium and more luxurious goods. And how we are going to do this is introducing to you our marketing campaign, M&S A British Way of Life. So what exactly is this? It's a marketing campaign where we aim to achieve two objectives. The first is to shed off our previous image as a middle class item, and the second one is we want to promote our brand as something that is more premium, British, imported, things that our target customers like. So why we are doing this marketing campaign is very important for us to do is because the customers they are from middle class. We recognize that they are the bulk of our customer base, but they don't want middle class goods. So we are trying to steer away from that. So how we are going to carry out this marketing campaign? We are going to do it basically through traditional advertisements and posters. So some of the creative assets that we want to create, for example, a video showing ladies and gentlemen wearing Marks and Spencer items, and we want to show them how it can fit into their daily life. So apart from the fashion, we also want to incorporate the food side of our business. And the number two thing that we have to take note of is that these posters cannot show things that middle class customers do. So it's more of like, we want to portray how wearing Marks and Spencer kind of elevates them away from the middle class routine that they are very used to. Okay. So with our marketing campaign, after we successfully change this brand perception through our videos and posters, it is now time to dive deeper into the problems that are facing our business, so more on the operational side. So as we recognize that we have two key areas of business, one is on food and the second one is on fashion. So on the food side, we see a few problems, which is the routine shortages leading to severely lost sales probably. And our team believes that this is indicative of poor demand forecasting. especially on the Marks and Spencer China team. And in order to solve this problem, we recommend that Marks and Spencer should start investing in at least building up their capabilities in predictive analytics. It can be as simple as starting on Excel first. So what we want them to do is to start collating the demand, the monthly sales from each of the stores, and then probably find a trend graph of the demand, determine the service level, which also will impact where you store your warehouses and how often you import from UK. So with that predictive analytics capability, Marks and Spencer will be able to solve the supply shortages by accurately predicting demand. And okay, so moving on the fashion side, we see that a big problem is that there's a lack of localization of product designs. So although we say we want to be British, but we still can't be entirely British because customers may have some form of resistance. They want something familiar, but still British in a way. And because of this lack of localization, we recommend that Marks and Spencer should start collaborating with local designers for those limited edition releases. So these local designers, they will have they're the most knowledgeable in the latest fashion trends, fashion fads, and everything. So they are the best person that we should work with. So a case study of this, that a successful company that's done this is actually Uniqlo. So Uniqlo frequently partners with product designers, with fashion designers such as Keith Haring, because they understand that, let's say, for example, Singapore customers, they are exposed to the art scene and they recognize these designers. So by partnering with such designers, we are actually tailoring to the local the local Chinese elements that people want in our products. So by doing both food and fashion, all these operational changes, design changes, we are very sure that customers will be more receptive to our products, and in essence, through these limited editions, they will spend more of their money on us, and we will increase our average revenue per customer. So now that I've walked you through our design and tailor strategy, I'll allow you how to walk you through our last strategy on e-commerce.
Okay. So let me now bring you through our e-commerce strategy. So our e-commerce strategy is actually a short-term and a long-term strategy. So in the short term, the current scenario, as my seed analysis friend Jasmine has pointed out, people are currently unfamiliar with the brand, and it's an unlocalized brand. And with Shan's strategy, we are able to turn it from an unfamiliar territories into a brand that's familiar for them and it's also localized. And so in the short term, we look to tap on Tmall and also JD.com. And the key benefits of this is that it's low risk, because in a sense, no logistics is required. Tmall and JD will actually settle the logistics for us. And also it's a local form of outreach, a local channel of outreach to our customers. So in the long term, what we hope to achieve is to set up our own online store, because this gives us greater flexibility. So right now, I'll bring you through in detail the short-term strategy. So the short-term strategy for us is to actually set up a storefront on Tmall and JD, and then list our products on them, and then try to use digital marketing to promote our store through channels such as Weibo and WeChat. Yep. So how are we going to implement it? There's 3 different steps to it. Firstly, it's setup. So as I mentioned earlier on, we set up a storefront. And how are we going to raise awareness? We will use channels such as premium listings and also banner ads on Tmall and Tmall and JD.com. And the second part is to activate them. So how do we actually activate them? We'll look to reward first-time users with using gift vouchers, and that's one of the methods that we will employ. Lastly, to retain them. How are we going to retain them? And one of the methods that we're going to look at is through email marketing. So in the activate phase, once we have gotten our customers, we'll also get some of the data, such as their emails. And through our newsletter, we can actually display attractive deals for them. So moving on to our long-term strategy, once Shan's strategy and the short-term strategy is completed, we move towards the long-term strategy where we seek to establish an online store. And here, we seek to tap on our existing customer base, both in online and offline. And by online, I mean that previous customers that have purchased our products through JD.com and also Tmall. And the offline would be referring to the foot traffic that we actually receive at our Marks and Spencer store. And then we'll also acquire customers through the digital marketing strategies. So how are we going to implement this? So there are two key areas that we have to look at. Firstly, it's logistics. So the idea here for us is to work with multiple fulfillment companies, and this will actually provide ultra convenience, because these fulfillment companies that we're looking at is actually situated in different parts of China, and we will actually work with more fulfillment companies in areas where there are actually higher orders. And one example that I can actually list out for you is in the US, Amazon actually has this Fulfillment by Amazon program for drop shipping retailers, and this is the direction that we hope to head towards. So in the next aspect, we have to focus on our e-commerce offerings, and the first thing that we have to iron out is the product. So what kind of product do we want to deliver to our customers? And the first thing that we have to ask ourselves is what customers want. So customers these days on e-commerce, when they are shopping on e-commerce, they want an immersive experience online. And what we will provide them with our e-commerce store is technology that enhances the experience. For example, try-on programs. For example, examples that I can list is Sephora, where they have a online assistant where you can try on their lipsticks virtually, and also Warby Parker, where they sell glasses online, where you can actually try on their glasses online as well. So the last phase is, after we've ironed out our product, how do we actually acquire these customers? Similarly, we are going to tap on our existing customer base through email marketing, and also the customers that are actually entering our stores, we actually introduce to them that we have these e-commerce stores, and also other digital marketing channels such as online ads. So these are the avenues that we hope to acquire customers. So what are some incentives? Similarly, we also try to provide gift vouchers. So in summary, why will this work? And I'd like to bring up a case study in terms of Sephora when they were trying to enter Southeast Asia. So when Sephora first tried to enter Southeast Asia, what they did was they listed on a very popular e-commerce websites on Southeast Asia such as Lazada, and then subsequently, once they figure out their e-commerce strategy, they actually purchased a company called Luxola in Southeast Asia, and then they established their Sephora brand in Southeast Asia. And so this is a direction that we also hope to look into as well. So now, let me pass my time to Hong Yi, who will be bringing you through the impact of our strategies.
Thank you, Hao. Now that we have seen our recommendations for today, what is the impact? What is the value that we are bringing to the company? So, next slide. So, to understand the value, we first look at the current situation. Currently, Marks & Spencer fails to achieve the revenue growth that it needs to achieve in China. And if we follow the continued growth at a CAGR of 10% per year, we only reach 1.6 million per store. And this is a huge problem because this is actually above their operating costs. And in this way, they're actually making losses every year. And you can see that because of this, their CAGR is below the sector CAGR of 14%. They can't even ride on the wave growing in China. So how are we able to help them achieve their goals of positive revenue? So with our design, tailor, and sew strategy, we believe that we can increase the number of daily customers per store from 100 to 150. And we can increase the average spending per customer from $30 to $40. And all in all, we want to increase the average revenue that we earn per store to 2.0 million. And this represents a CAGR of 18%, which we believe is a significant markup above the current trend, because we're able to capture not just on the riding growth of the retail sector, but also on the e-commerce sector, because we also have strategies targeted towards the e-commerce audiences. So after you've seen what the values that we can bring, what about the cost of this implementation? So for design, the major cost is actually through advertising costs, because we are spending a lot on campaigns. And one way we can reduce this actually is to use free marketing channels such as social. And for the next strategy for tailor, one of the major costs is the developing the analytics. But actually, we don't think the cost will be very high because there are already many existing analytics software. In fact, machine learning has become the norm for most companies, and believe that we can leverage on the existing technology to build our own ones. And finally, for our SEO strategy, one of the major costs will be tech development. But we believe that our website will be simple. All we have to do is we do a gradual rollout of this website, and we can keep costs low even with a tech strategy. So finally, for our timeline, for design strategy, we'll begin sourcing for advertisers and research on the trends in the market. And for our tailor strategy, we'll source for the local designers. At the same time, we'll source for analytics solutions within the first year. And towards the end of the first year, we'll start rolling out our design and tailor solutions by collaborating with local designers, at the same time rolling out our marketing strategies. And after that, we'll start our strategy, which is to develop the e-commerce system, and we'll roll out our website by year 3. So today we have talked about our objective, which is to increase the revenue per store to $2 million. However, to achieve this objective, there are several key issues. And first thing is, how can we build our brand equity? Second, how can we localize our business without diluting our brand value? And finally, how can we strengthen our online presence? Well, today we have come up with our 3 recommendations: design, tailor, and sew, to overcome these key issues. And with this, we believe we have a very significant impact of increasing the number of customers to 150. Yeah, so we believe that this will help Marks & Spencer achieve its strategy of growing in China. Thank you.
Thank you for taking. So now we enter the Q&A section. Judges, please ask your questions.
Okay, thanks for the presentation. The first thought which I had, we've covered a lot of things which are external in nature in terms of fixing, i.e. the advertising, etc. Have you considered internally in the company, its management, its culture, or in other words, does it have the DNA to succeed in China, given that it's 132 years company steeped in the DNA of a British way of doing things?
I think that one problem that we inferred about the management is that in British they are quite confident, because this is a very British brand. The British are proud of it, so they may be a bit lax towards like reaching out and communicating with the customers themselves, because probably in Britain the customers go to Marks & Spencer, but this thing is not replicable in China, because you're entering a new foreign market where you really have zero awareness at the start. So one problem that we find with the management, perhaps the culture, is that they are not very aggressive in terms of like reaching out and talking to your customers personally. So this is a problem that they might have to address as well.
To add on to a point, I think that if we were to change the DNA company itself, we will be destroying the very strategy we are trying to implement. How do we grow in China without diluting the brand equity? So if we change the DNA, we're actually changing the brand equity, and this is not what we want to do. What we really want to solve today is how do we combine, how do we make this DNA work with the China market? So this is how we think we can implement the strategy.
You started off with saying that your target is to increase the post-store revenue to $2 million. The entire push is on e-commerce. So do you think both these two can be aligned? Because I'm trying to mentally reconcile e-commerce growth versus a target of growing post-store revenue.
Yes. Okay, I think for this case, what we're trying to say is that we try to quantify it in a more realistic way, so we count by stores. But in terms of our e-commerce strategy, it actually comes in later, after the 3rd year. So I think for e-commerce growth, it is harder to track, but we follow it according to the CAGR growth of the e-commerce sector in China. So if this is actually, I believe this is actually a base analysis, a very safe analysis to say without the e-commerce impact on our growth. This is only based on the marketing campaign and our collaboration that we believe we can achieve the revenue. The e-commerce sector actually comes in even later, that we can leverage on the growth of the e-commerce sector. So actually, I think 18% is actually a very conservative number. It will actually be stated to grow even higher once the e-commerce part picks up.
You mentioned that the new strategy is to position Marks & Spencer as a premium company, and then using e-commerce as the main strategy. A lot of competitors like Sainsbury's has been trying to do this and they didn't succeed. What do you think is your main competitive advantage apart from the media strategy to help you win this market?
So how we can win by like the fact that we are positioning ourselves as a premium?
What's your competitive advantage against the competitors that are already using this positioning in China?
Our competitive advantage is that because Marks & Spencer, I think one differentiating factor is that it's innovative. So it comes up with a lot of new, fresh designs, but this is not properly communicated with the customers, and probably some other brands are also not that quick in positioning yourself as an innovative brand. So that can be one of our competitive advantages. Then this is further reinforced by our strategy of collaborating with local designers, which shows how much of a risk-taking company we are and how much we want to connect with our customers.
May I just follow up with the question which my colleague asked? I think you are moving away from where Marks and Spencer is today, from target market brand positioning to a different place, which is like the age, premier, affordable luxury, etc. It's not a space that's vacant today. There must be some players who are doing there, competing there. I think the point that you were trying to make is, have you analyzed the competition landscape in there, and how would you fight this competition and make this a success?
Okay, to answer the question, I think really the key value that we have is that we have the very strong, let's say, the DNA. And we believe that the premium consumers...
Can I interrupt you there?
Yeah, sure.
It is not about what M&S can do. It's about, have you looked at the competition that you have and how do you respond to that? It's not a vacant open space.
Yes. Okay. I think that's an excellent question. So in terms of competitors, because we provide really two main sources of items, grocery products, and at the same time fashion. So in terms of grocery products, we have competition from supermarkets, local grocers, but the place where we stand out is that we give premium products. It is already existing, and the fact that I think China does not actually have a premium supermarket that sells imported goods from Britain, and this is where our value proposition lies. For fashion-wise, this is why we are trying to change our strategy instead of doing an affordable luxury, because everyone is doing it. There's Uniqlo, there's like Sainsbury. They are doing affordable luxury, but we want to bridge this gap. We want to say, okay, we are very focused on being the luxury brand, the premium products. So aligning with our grocery section, we are also going to move towards giving premium fashion to these consumers. And we really want to ride on this very strong premium branding that Marks and Spencer have and build upon this. And this is how we think we can dominate the competition.
You've identified a customer segment that you want to go after.
The 30 to 45-year-old segment.
How would you validate that you've identified this segment correctly?
Because we actually base it on the UK market. So the UK market, the average age is around 45, but in China we recognize that they have entered using the 30 market, and we believe that we should not just crowd around the 45, so we can actually extend it a bit lower since they have already done so, and we recognize that there are similar lifestyles, probably working moms, working dads. And so that's how we arrived at our 30 to 49, because we already have a successful case study in the UK, and we believe that it's most likely the same in China.
On your e-commerce strategy, the first phase is go onto JD and Tmall, and the second phase is to build your own platform. Given that there is much larger traffic on JD and Tmall, and there will be a cost in building your own e-commerce platform, what's your rationale behind having your own e-commerce site?
Okay, so one of the key challenges that we realized on JD and Tmall, number one, it's the flexibility, so that we can't really implement technologies that we feel would better the customer experience. So JD and Tmall, yes, the traffic is good, but there are also a lot of retailers that are on Tmall as well. So the competition there is very steep. And the second thing is there's nothing we can do except to extend offers and discounts to our consumers in order to differentiate ourselves. So in that sense, we cannot really differentiate ourselves in terms of an online shopping experience. So the first phase of our strategy is actually to just reach out to our customers in a very local way and try to get them familiar with our brand. And once we have a core group of customers that are familiar with our brand, then we'll shift to the e-commerce platform. And then with the logistics costs, yes, the logistic costs will be there, but I would say that most of the shipping fees and logistics fees would actually be from the customer's end, because that's how retailers generally shift their cost towards as well.
If I may add on to his answer, we believe that having our own platform can actually allow us to have a lot more freedom in what we want to do, and it can actually make room for potential synergies between our online store and our offline store. So in Singapore, where I take the bus and passes by the central business district, people actually still play Pokemon Go, even though it's a game that's targeted at young adults like me. But actually, a lot of the working people are doing it, and they take the same route to work. So I think an online and offline synergy that we can identify is through having our own app and our own platform is we can also like implement augmented reality aspects into our own platform, which JD and Tmall may not allow us the freedom to do so. So for example, if someone is on their way to work and they tend to pass by a Marks and Spencer store without realizing it, this augmented reality thing can actually bring up that awareness that, hey, actually there's a brick and mortar store here, you can come down and try it while you're on the way to work, on the way back. So actually this online and offline can actually work together through having our own platform so that we can also increase visitorship to our brick and mortar store as well.
Thank you.
Just one question.
Sure.
If I ask you, what would you consider the top 2 risks for your strategy?
So for the tailor and design strategy, I think one of the risks that we find is that we cannot find the designers, since we are really banking on this collaboration in the fashion, which we believe will really take off very rapidly and can even be replicated. So one of the risks is if we cannot find the designers who will want to partner with us. So one mitigation to this is that maybe we can crowdsource ideas. So a lot of companies, they will talk to their customers through social media, and then Uniqlo even has this design competition where they have those Mickey Mouse designs, and they'll choose the winning designs. And similarly, we think Marks and Spencer can do this as well. And the second one is for the analytics side. Perhaps it may not be a demand issue after all, and it can probably be a really supply chain, warehousing, their order frequency. And with this, we can mitigate it by engaging with a local distributor who has the far greater reach and expertise in distributing goods in China. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica?
You mentioned, I saw on the marketing, you mentioned email marketing.
Yeah.
Right now, I think in China, the most common way of the consumer receiving information is through social media like WeChat. Do you still think email marketing is a relevant strategy?
So we don't only want to just use one single strategy. So I do agree that email marketing may not be the best form, which is why we have also considered like acquiring customers through like digital marketing channels, like Weibo, WeChat as well. So when we receive the customer information, so it's not just on email marketing. We're also looking at different channels such as Weibo and WeChat as well. Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you have time for one last question? Time for one last question? Or is that?
We have around 4 more minutes.
Okay. So you tried to articulate what the strategy to succeed is. Did you consider that it might be too late for Marks and Spencer to succeed in China, given that there are players who are so well entrenched in the top 1, 2, and 3, both online and the bricks and mortar, and the challenge they faced in the last 20 years in China? Was one of the options you considered is to actually quit China and say it's not going to work for us?
Okay, I think to answer the question, we also have to consider what the company itself wants. And I think previously they have exited a market and it has not turned out well for them. So if we look at what the company actually wants to do, they do want to stay in China. The question is, how do they reposition themselves to succeed in China? If the problem with exiting China is that I think this problem will not just persist within their country. If we look at the operating margins for the entire world, the highest operating margin before they entered China was actually in the Asia portion. So given that the operating profit, the margins is significantly lower in where they actually are right now, Europe and Americas, we believe that they cannot just stay there any longer. And one of the key risks they have identified and why they actually want to go into China in the first place was because the economic conditions within Britain might not bode well for them, which is why we don't think it is a risky strategy to stay in China. In fact, we think this is the only solution for them to stay in China and instead pivot their strategy so that they can succeed.
Thank you very much.
Now, do you have further
Yes, please.
Thank you.